Welcome into the A Train Sports Talk podcast. As I always say, city to city, state to state, coast to coast, and literally we're going coast to coast today. I have a very special guest. Some of you remember CBS Sports Radio, then it transitioned into Infinity Sports Network. She was a stable overnight. Also, she's a Christian lady. I like that. She is a wife. She is a mother. Anything else you want to know about her? Listen to the show. I'm pretty sure she will let you know about her. There is no shame in her game. One the best and was the hardest working lady in radio business. None other than my guest and my favorite former radio personnel, Amy Lawrence. Welcome aboard, Miss Lawrence. How are you doing today?
I'm
I'm
good.
good. Thank you so much for having me, Anthony. It's nice to join you. Congratulations on all your success with your podcast.
Just
Just
one
one
quick
quick
correction.
correction.
I'm
I'm
not with
not
After
with After
Hours or
Hours or
Infinity
Infinity
Sports
Sports
Network
Network
anymore, but I
anymore,
am
but
most
I am most
definitely still a
definitely still a
radio
radio
personality.
personality.
All
I
right.
have not retired.
I'm not
I'm
Okay.
done
not done
talking. I've got a
talking. I've
lot
got a
more to
lot more to
say.
say.
Hey, there was another lady I used to listen to years ago. Years ago, you might have heard of her. And to me, I think you are far better than her. But she might have been a pioneer for women in talk sports talk radio. But her name was they called her the fabulous sports babe. Do you remember that
Yes,
name?
Yes,
yes.
yes.
And she could be brutal at times, but you you brought a new twist to the game, and that's what I want to ask you because this is a field that is dominated by men. So I'm pretty sure you had to cut through a lot of hoops and try to find some loopholes. What was it like cutting your teeth in a industry that's dominated by men? Because I know it wasn't easy.
That's a good
That's a good
question and
question
also a
and
good
also a good
point. And
point.
it
And it
certainly has
certainly has
opened up a
opened up
lot
a lot
more
more
now in
now in
2025
2025
for
for
young women,
young women,
many of whom I
many of whom I
mentor getting
mentor
into
getting
sports
into sports
broadcasting,
broadcasting,
as well
as well
as on the
as on the
TV
TV
side.
side.
You see a
You see
lot
a
of
lot
women
of
who
women
are
who are
covering the
covering the
NFL, the
NFL, the
NBA,
NBA,
hockey,
hockey, or just generally
are
are
doing
doing
anchor
anchor
stints
stints
on
on
SportsCenter. So
SportsCenter.
there are
So
plenty
there are
more
plenty more
women
women
in
in
sports
sports
TV now,
TV
a lot
now,
of
a lot of
sideline
sideline
reporters, even
reporters, even
analysts,
analysts,
play-by-play
play-by-play
announcers.
announcers,
Sports
sports
radio,
radio,
where it's
where it's
just
just
you, your
you, your
knowledge,
knowledge,
your
your
voice, your
voice, your
ability to
ability to
entertain over
entertain
to
over
me
to
what is
me
a
what is a
timeless
timeless
medium.
medium.
Sports
Sports
radio is still a
radio
bit
is
of a
still a bit of a
vast
vast
wasteland when it
wasteland when it
comes
comes
to
to
women,
women,
especially
especially
women
women
who
who
host
host
solo. So you
solo.
mentioned
So
the
you mentioned the
fabulous sports
fabulous
babe.
sports babe.
Her show was
Her show
very
was very
different, of
different,
course. Her
of
name was
course. Her name was
Nancy, by the
Nancy,
way.
by the way.
And
And
she had a
she
lot of
had a lot
guests
of guests
on, a lot
on,
of
a lot of
gimmicks, a lot of
gimmicks, a lot
big
of
noises
big
and
noises and
sounds
sounds
and that
and
type
that type
of
of
special
special
effects.
effects.
And
And
she certainly
she
did
certainly
pave
did
a
pave
way,
a
but
way, but
I was never
I
going to
was
be
never going to
like
be
her.
like
And so when
her.
I
And so
got
when I
into
got
it,
into it,
I honestly
I
had
honestly
no
had no
idea
idea
how
how
or
or
where
where
I was
I was
headed,
headed,
Anthony.
Anthony.
Instead, it was
Instead, it
really a
was really a
trial by
trial by
error and a
error and
trial
a
by
trial by
fire.
fire.
And
And
I think
I
that's
think
the
that's the
definition of
definition of
being a
being a
pioneer or a
pioneer or a
trailblazer is that
trailblazer
you're
is that you're
walking where no
walking
one
where
else
no
has
one else
walked
has walked
before.
before.
I just
I
knew that
just
at
knew that at
16 years
16
old,
years
sports
old, sports
radio was what
radio
I
was what I
wanted to
wanted
do.
to
And
do. And
I started
I started
telling all of
telling
my
all of
friends I
my
was going to
friends
be
I
the
was going to be
first
the first
female
female
play-by-play announcer
play-by-play
of the
announcer of the
Boston
Boston
Celtics,
Celtics,
which, by the
which,
way,
by the
is
way, is
still
still
my
my
dream
dream
job and
job and
still
still
something that I
something
would
that I
take
would
in a
take in a
heartbeat.
heartbeat.
And I
And
just
I just
started
started
talking.
talking.
I just
I
had to
just had to
figure it out on
figure it
my
out on
own.
my own.
And I got
And
some
I got
bad
some bad
advice along
advice
the
along the
way.
way.
I got
I
some
got
people
some
who
people
would
who
rather
would
see
rather
me
see me
fail, but
fail,
I
but
also
I
had the
also had the
opposite. I've
opposite.
had
I've had
allies, I've
allies,
had
I've had
people who
people
poured
who
into
poured
me,
into me.
I've had
I've had
great
great
mentors
mentors
and
and
friends,
friends,
almost
almost
entirely
entirely
men,
men,
who were
who were
willing
willing
to not
to
only
not only take a time, an
opportunity
opportunity
to
to
answer my
answer my
questions and to
questions
help
and to
me
help me
understand
understand
some of the
some of the
nuances of
nuances of
our
our
business, but
business, but
also
also
were willing
were
to
willing
attach
to
their
attach
names
their
to
names
mine
to
and
mine
say,
and
hey,
say, hey,
check out
check out
this
this
host, or
host
give
or
her a
give her a
listen.
listen.
She's really
She's
going
really going
places. And
places.
to
And
me,
to
that's
me, that's
something
something
that is
that is
priceless
priceless
and
and
that I could
that I could
never
never
pay
pay
back
back
because
because
I think
I think
when I
when I
started, it
started,
took
it took a bit of a leap of faith for a guy, an established veteran in the business,
to
to
say,
say,
hey,
"Hey,
this
this
girl
girl
can
can
be
be
one of
one of
us,
us,
or
or
she can
she
be
can be
just as
just
good
as
as
good
we
as
are.
we are."
But with
But
no
with no
blueprint,
blueprint,
I mean, there's a lot of
fumbling
fumbling around.
around.
Like
Like
I
I
said,
said,
Right.
it
it
wasn't
wasn't
a
a
linear
linear
path.
path.
It
It
wasn't
wasn't
a
a
straight
straight
path.
path. It
Had dead
had dead
ends. It
ends. It
had
had circle backs. It had
switchbacks.
switchbacks.
It had a
It had a
lot of
lot of
misfires and
misfires and
miscues and
miscues and
failures.
failures.
But
But
ultimately,
ultimately,
I
I
think
think
the
the
only
only
way
way
that
that
failure
failure
is
at
the
the
end
end
is
is
if
if
you
you
give
give
up.
up.
And I
And I
just
just
was
was
never
never
going to
going
give
to
up.
give up.
And I do appreciate that. Uh, Once again, we have Amy Lawrence, formerly of Overnight Radio, but she's not giving up radio. So, uh, you started this journey. How many years ago was it when you actually started? And who were some of your influences?
Oh
Oh
gosh,
gosh,
that's a
that's a
great
great
question.
question.
Let's see.
Let's see.
Well, I
Well, I
graduated from
graduated from
Syracuse
Syracuse
University with my
University with my
master's in
master's
TV
in
and
TV and
radio
radio
in the
in
late
the late
90s.
90s.
And so at
And
that
so at that
point, it
point,
was,
it
hey,
was, hey,
how can I
how
find a
can I
job?
find a
How can
job?
I
How
get
can I get
started?
started?
Some of my
Some of
first
my first
jobs
jobs
were
were
Rochester, New
Rochester, New
York,
York,
where I
where I
did
did
news
news
updates
updates
overnight,
overnight,
but I
but I
also
also
produced
produced
Sunday
Sunday
broadcasts of
broadcasts
Buffalo
of
Bills
Buffalo Bills
football.
football.
So I
So
got to
I got to
understand how much of
understand
a
how much of a
lifeblood it
lifeblood
was.
it was.
I was
I was
told no
told
matter
no
what
matter
you
what
mess
you
up,
mess up,
you can
you
screw
can
up on
screw up on
anything else,
anything
but
else,
don't
but
screw up
don't
on
screw up
Bills
on Bills
football because
football
we have a
because
Right.
we
really
have a really
passionate
passionate
Yes,
fan
they
base
are.
and
fan base and
audience who
audience who
listens. Yeah.
listens. Yeah.
And so my
And so my
first five
first
to
5
six
to 6
years in the
years in the
business
business
were in
were in
news,
news,
actually.
actually.
I did
I did
sports
sports
on the
on the
side. I
side.
did a lot
I
of
did a lot of play
play-by-play
by
for
play
high
for
school
high school
basketball when I
basketball when I
started.
started.
But
But
initially,
initially,
my
my
first
first
full-time
full time
jobs were in
jobs were
news.
in news.
And I
And
will
I will
never be
never
sorry
be
about
sorry
that.
about that.
It taught
It
me
taught
how to
me
tell a
how to tell a
story.
story.
It taught me
It
how to
taught me how to
write.
write.
Working in
Working in
news taught
news
me
taught me
to
to
prioritize
prioritize
what
what
really
really
matters the
matters the
most.
most.
It taught me
It taught me
objectivity.
objectivity,
Certainly taught
certainly
me
taught
how to
me
be
how
a
to be a
journalist
journalist and to be
one who
one
can
who
tell a
can tell a
story or
story
repeat
or
a story
repeat a
without
story without
bias.
bias.
And it
And it
also
also
taught me
taught me
how to
how
speak
to
to
speak to
people
people
as
as
humans,
humans,
not
not
as
as
numbers, if you
numbers, if
will.
you
There's a
will.
big
There's a
difference
big
between
difference between
talking to
talking to
someone and
someone
talking
and
at
talking at
someone.
someone.
And so
Right.
And so
Right.
journalism is
journalism
really the
is really the
basis
basis
for my
for my
career, and I'm
career,
so
and I'm so
grateful for
grateful
that.
for that.
I know
I know
not
not
everyone goes to
everyone goes to
school, not
school,
everyone
not
has a
everyone has a
journalism
journalism
degree, not
degree, not
everyone gets a
everyone gets a
master's,
master's,
not
not
everyone works
everyone
in
works in
news
news
beforehand.
beforehand.
But all
But
of
all of
those
those
lessons I
lessons I
learned
learned when I was
working in
working in
news were
news were
extremely
extremely
valuable.
valuable.
And sometimes
And
I would
sometimes
do
I would
sports
do
for
sports
free.
for
They would
free.
pay
They
me
would
for
pay me for
news, and I would
news,
do
and I would do
sports for
sports for
free.
free.
Right.
But I was
But I was
able to get my
able to get
feet
my
wet. I
feet
was
wet. I
able to
was able
start
to start
practicing in front of
practicing
a
in front of a
microphone.
microphone.
I was
I was
able
able
to get
to
to the
get
point
to the
where I was
point
more
where I was more
comfortable
comfortable
hearing my
hearing my
sound.
sound.
I started
I
to
started to
hone my
hone my
style and my
style and my
sound.
sound.
And so that
And
was
so
where
that
I
was
got
where I
my
got my
start and
start
how I
and how I
began.
began.
And I
And I
hopped all over
hopped
the
all over the
country, lots of
country,
different
lots of different
places,
places,
Oklahoma sight
Oklahoma sight
unseen.
unseen.
My first
My
stop
first
there
stop there
was
was
the cow
the cow
town
town
in
in
western
Western
Oklahoma
Oklahoma
near the
near the
panhandle that had
panhandle that
more
had more
cows than
cows than
people.
people.
But it was
But it
great
was great
because it was a
because it was a
100,000 watt
100,000-watt
stick.
stick.
I mean, it
I mean, it
reached
reached
all of
all of
well,
it
it reached the
reached the
western half
western
of
half of
Oklahoma,
Oklahoma,
all of the
all of the
Texas
Texas
Panhandle,
Panhandle,
all of
all of
Southwest
Southwest
Kansas.
Kansas.
I was able
I
to
was
do
able to
play
do
by
play
play
by
for
play
four
for
different
4 different
sports.
sports.
So it was
So it was
really an
really an
opportunity for me
opportunity
to
for me to
grow and
grow
try
and try
everything.
everything.
And I tell
And I
young
tell young
broadcasters,
broadcasters,
try
try
everything.
everything.
Don't say
Don't say
no.
no.
First of all,
First
you
of all,
never
you
know
never
what
know what
happens if you
happens
get
if
your
you get
foot in
your
the
foot in the
door, who
door,
you
who
might
you might
meet,
meet,
what
what
experiences
experiences
might become
might become
valuable.
valuable,
But you
but you
also
also
learn
learn
what you
what you
don't want
don't
to
want
do
to
and
do
what
and
you're
what you're
not good
not
at.
good at.
So it
So
helps
it
you to
helps you to
narrow
narrow
down,
down, narrow
and
down
hone
and
your
hone your
skills
skills so that you know
how to
how to
target what
target
you want
what
to
you
do.
want
And
to do. And
for me, it
for me,
turns
it
out that
turns
I'm
out
pretty
that I'm
good
pretty
at
good at
talking on the
talking on the
radio,
radio,
pretty good at
pretty good at
interviewing,
interviewing,
really good at
really
play
good at
by
play
play.
by
So
play.
those
So those
became the
became the
pursuits for my
pursuits for my
career.
career.
Now we move a little bit forward because you pretty much laid the groundwork. You've laid laid the foundation. And like I say, I've heard your show plenty of times. I mean, every time I actually had to like have my earbuds in when I was supposed to have them at work overnight, so I could listen to Amy Lawrence overnight, hear her sports take. Uh, who are some of your favorite teams to cover? I
My
mean,
favorite
I
My
know,
favorite
team.
team.
I know you mentioned you couldn't mess up the Buffalo Bills, so you follow them. But uh, some of the teams that you like to follow, say in the NFL, in the NBA. I know you want to eventually do play by play for the Boston Celtics. You made that known. But who are some teams that you really like to follow?
Mm.
Okay, well,
Okay, well, in answering that question, I will also
answer
answer
the
the
part
part
of
of
your
your
question
question
that
that
I
I just realized I missed. You asked me influences.
Well,
Well,
the
the
reason I am
reason I
in
am
this
in this
business is
business is
because of the
because of the
Boston
Boston
Celtics,
Celtics,
right? So when
right?
I
So
was in
when I
high
was in high
school, we
school,
lived
we
out in
lived
the
out in the
boonies
boonies in
in
Concord, New
Concord, New Hampshire.
Hampshire.
We did
We
not
did
have
not have
cable
cable
TV when I
TV
was a
when I was a
kid.
kid.
So the
So
Wow.
the
only way
only
that
way
I
that I
could
could
follow
follow
my
my
beloved
beloved
Celtics,
Celtics,
Larry
Larry
Bird,
Bird,
Kevin
Kevin
McHale,
McHale,
Robert
Robert
Perry
Parrish,
Staney,
Danny
Dennis
Ainge, Dennis
Johnson,
Johnson,
even Cedric
even Cedric
Maxwell,
Maxwell,
is
who
still
is
part of
still
their
part of their
broadcast team
broadcast
now,
team now,
is a former
is a former
Celtic
Celtic
champion.
champion.
The only way
The
I could
only way I
follow
could
them was
follow
to
them was
listen
to
on the
listen on the
radio.
radio.
And so
And
that
so
was
that was
really
really
what
what
captivated me.
captivated me.
That's when
That's
I
when
became
I
a
became
radio
a radio
junkie. So
junkie.
I would
So
say
I would
guys
say
like
guys
Johnny
like Johnny
Most,
Most,
Glenn
Glenn
Ordway, who
Ordway, who
retired
retired a few years ago from Boston Radio, but is an icon there in that market.
Those are two
Those
of
are
the guys
two of
that
the
I
guys that I
enjoyed
enjoyed
listening to.
listening to.
Even
Even
going
going
back
back
to
to
Westwood
Westwood
One's
One's
broadcast
broadcast
of
of
March
March
Madness
Madness
and
and
Monday Night
Monday Night
Football, because there
Football, because
wasn't
there
Sunday
wasn't
Night
Sunday Night
Football when I
Football when I
started, but
started, but
Right.
Monday Night
Monday Night
Football.
Football.
And
And
I didn't know
I
a whole
didn't know a
lot
whole
about
lot about
football.
football. I know my
Stepdad
stepdad
liked
liked
to
to
watch
watch
it.
it.
So
So
I
I
remember
remember
one
one
Sunday
Sunday
afternoon,
afternoon,
I was
I was
watching a
watching a
game
game
with
with
him
him
between
between
the
the
Patriots and the
Patriots and the
Broncos,
Broncos,
and
and
Denver was
Denver was
21
21
points
points
back in
back
the
in the
fourth
fourth
quarter.
quarter.
And
And
John
John
Elway
Elway
engineered
engineered one of his
patented
patented
fourth
fourth
quarter
quarter
comeback.
John
comebacks,
Elway,
And
and
right.
I
I
was
was
addicted
addicted
to the
to the
excitement,
excitement,
addicted
addicted
to
to
the
the
adrenaline.
adrenaline.
I knew
I knew
nothing about
nothing
the
about
sport,
the sport,
Anthony,
Anthony,
nothing at
nothing at
all. I
all.
couldn't have
I
told
couldn't have
you
told
how
you
you
how
picked
you
up a
picked up
first
a
down
first
or what
down or
that
what that
was when I
was
was
when I was
13 years
13
old,
years old,
but I
but I
loved the
loved the
thrill.
thrill.
And so I
And so I
decided
decided then and there
that I would
that I
be
would
a
be a
Denver
Denver
Broncos
Broncos
fan.
fan.
Now they
Now
went
they
on to
went on to
lose to the
lose to the
Niners in the
Niners in
Super
the
Bowl
Super Bowl
55 to
55 to
10.
10.
They lost
They
to
lost
Doug
to Doug
Williams and the
Williams and the
Redskins
Redskins
42 to
42 to
10.
10.
They got
They got
shellacked by the
shellacked by the
Giants.
Giants.
It
It
wasn't
wasn't
until
until
the
the
end
end
of
of
his
his
career
career
when
when
they
they
finally
finally
were
were
able
able
to
to
win
win
the
the
back-to-back
back-to-back
Super
Super
Bowls with
Bowls
the
with
Hall of
the
Fame
Hall of
running
Fame
back
running
Terrell
back Terrell
Davis.
Davis.
Terrell Davis.
So that
So
was the
that was the
team.
team.
That was my
That was my
ride
ride
or
or die.
die.
That
And then the
and then the
Celtics,
Celtics, late
late 80s
80s
and
and
early
early
90s
90s
NBA.
NBA.
So
So
we're
we're
talking
talking
the Bad
the Bad
Boys. I
Boys.
love
I
the
love
Bad
the
Boys,
Bad
the
Boys, the
Pistons.
Pistons.
Obviously the
Obviously the
Michael
Michael
Jordan
Jordan
era,
era,
the
the
Michael
Michael
Jordan
Jordan
years.
years.
I
I
pity
pity
people.
people.
In fact,
In
I
fact, I
laugh
laugh
at
at
young
young
people
people
sometimes
sometimes
because they
because they
never
never
saw
saw
the great
the
Michael
great Michael
Jordan
Jordan
play
Right.
and
play and
dominate,
dominate,
right?
right?
Never saw
Never saw
Charles
Charles
Barkley
Barkley
hold
hold
court.
court.
So
So
those are
those are
really the
really the
teams that
teams
got
that
me
got
into
me
it.
into it.
And then I
And
went
then
to
I went to
Syracuse,
Syracuse,
and
and
so
so
I
I
enjoyed
enjoyed
watching
watching
some of the
some of the
heyday of
heyday of
Syracuse
Syracuse
basketball with
basketball
Jim
with Jim
Boeheim, and
Boeheim, and
then I
you
went
know,
to
they
a
went
couple
to a
of
couple of
Final
Final
Fours,
Fours,
including
including
one
one
when
when
I
I
was
was
on
on
campus.
campus.
So
So
that
that
was
was
awesome.
awesome.
Just
Just
a
a
lot of
lot of
cool
cool
early
early
seeds
seeds
that
that
were
were
planted
planted
in
in
being
being
a
a
fan,
fan,
but
but
also
also
falling in
falling
love
in
with the
love with the
idea
idea
that you
that
don't
you
have to
don't
be
have to
able
be
to
able to
see
see
what's
what's
happening on the
happening on the
field, the
field,
court,
the
the
court, the
ice
ice,
to
to
still
still
understand what
understand
is
what is
taking
taking
place. And
place.
so the
And so the
theater of the
theater of the
mind that's
mind that's
created by the
created by
best
the best
play-by-play
play-by-play
announcers.
announcers.
Now we're
Now we're
talking about
talking about
guys
guys
like
like
Kevin
Kevin
Harlan, who is
Harlan, who is
brilliant at
brilliant
his
Yes.
at his
craft.
craft.
You
You
always know
always
what's
know what's
happening. The
happening.
man
The man
barely
barely
ever makes
ever
a
makes a
mistake.
mistake.
Ian
Ian
Eagle is
Eagle
another
is another
great at
great
that.
at
I think
that. I
Mike
think Mike
Tirico does a
Tirico
good
does a
job
good job
too.
too.
So these are
So
some
these are
of
some of
the great
the great
play-by-play
play-by-play
announcers
announcers
that
that
I've
I've
enjoyed
enjoyed
over
over
the
the
years.
years.
In terms
In
of
terms of
talk,
talk
and
and
like
you
I
know, like
said,
I said, there weren't a lot of
there
there
were
were
no
no
women that
women that
I
I
could
could
emulate or
emulate
look
or
up
look up
to.
to.
And
And
this is
this
not a
is not a
political
political
statement, so please
statement, so
don't
please
take it
don't
as
take
one.
it
I've
as
said
one.
it
I've
on
said
my
it on my
show.
show.
Rush
Rush
Limbaugh was
Limbaugh was
brilliant at
brilliant at
captivating an
captivating an
audience.
audience.
You could
You
love
could
him or
love him
hate
or
him, but
hate him,
what
but
he
what
Right.
he
did
did
was he
was
forced
he
you to
forced
take
you
a
to take a
stand.
stand.
And he got
And
an
he got an emotional reaction out of people, not to mention just the way that he in the way that he in a studio made you feel like he was talking to you. So these are all skills that as a radio host, again, regardless of his political affiliations, the fact is he got people to show up day after day because either you completely agreed with what he was saying
Right.
or you hated the man, you
Right.
despised him. And so for that reason you kept tuning in to listen so it would fuel your obsession. And I know that's part of what my audience is about too. Not everyone loves me. I've actually had people show up in the last 2 weeks say to me, oh my gosh, I've waited a decade for you to go away. I've waited a decade to say you suck at what you do, which is not even a fair fight anymore. But yeah, it's really theater of the mind, and so sports is part of that. But honestly, Anthony, I love radio even more than I love sports.
I can tell. Because I mean, I can't even see a picture, but I can kind of see you lit up. I mean, I have an image of what you look like anyway because I see you on. I still call it Twitter. I'm kind of
Me
like
too. Well,
I'm
12
kind of like the
clicks.
guys in the movie scene coming to America when they was talking about boxing. And you remember the scene where somebody said, "Well, Muhammad Ali." The other one said, "Well, the boy's mama named him Clay, so I'm gonna call him Clay." So I'm gonna still call it Twitter, but you know. I could hear the passion in your voice.
Oh yes.
Uh, uh, and you mentioned some names because you said the great, they didn't, that Denver didn't win until the Hall of Fame running back Terrell Davis came in. But you mentioned some of the teams that the Denver Broncos had lost to, and one of the names that really uh, piques my interest because one of these days I'm gonna do a show on some of the great athletes that deserve to be in the Hall of Fame that aren't in the Hall of Fame. Like one that comes to mind is O.J. Anderson. Used to play for the St. Louis Cardinals back in the day, so that lets you know I go back a long ways. Don't hold it against me that I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan, but those were some good games back in the day. But the other one you mentioned was Doug Williams. How is it
Yes.
that
Yes.
Doug Williams, Super Bowl winning quarterback, beat a Hall of Fame quarterback in John Elway? Because we tend to forget about the other 10 guys and make it about the quarterback. Even back
I
then,
hate that.
even
I
to
hate that
now,
so much.
even to now, it's still all about the quarterback. So if that be the case, how is it that Doug Williams is not in the Hall of Fame? And who's on that committee? I mean, we need to let our voices heard because it's a travesty that some of these names that we just mentioned, O.J. Anderson, Doug Williams, why are they not in the Hall of Fame? Because they got the numbers to
Mhm.
prove it.
That's a great
That's a
question.
great
And
question. And
honestly, I
honestly, I
don't
don't
even
even
think
think
it's
it's
about
about
numbers
numbers
as
as
much,
much,
Anthony.
Anthony.
For me, the
For me,
halls
the
of
halls
fame
of
are
fame are
supposed to
supposed
tell
to
a
tell a
story.
story.
They're
They're
supposed to
supposed to
preserve the
preserve the
history of
history
each
of
of the
each of the
games. So in the
games. So in
case
the
of
case of
football,
football,
with Doug
with Doug
Williams
Williams
as a
as a
pioneer,
pioneer,
being the
being the
first black
first black
quarterback
quarterback
to win a
to
Super
win a
Bowl,
Super
how
Bowl,
do
how do
you
you
not
not
include him in the
include him
Hall
in
of
the Hall of
Fame and
Fame
that
and
team
that
in the
team
Hall
in
of
the Hall
Fame
of Fame
because they
because
broke
they
ground,
broke ground,
because
because
they
they
busted
busted
through,
through,
I don't want to say
I
it
don't
was
want
a
to say it was
glass
a glass
ceiling, but
ceiling,
just
but just
pushing
pushing
that
that
narrative in a
narrative in a
different
different
direction and
direction and
saying, look,
saying,
you
look,
don't have to
you
be
don't
a
have to be
certain
a certain
skin
skin
color
color
to be a
to be a
championship
championship
quarterback.
quarterback.
And so I
And so
agree
I
with
agree
you. I
with
think
you. I
same
think
thing
same
with
thing with
Baseball Hall of
Baseball Hall
Fame.
of Fame.
You
You
cannot tell the
cannot tell the
story of
story of
baseball without the
baseball without the
steroid era.
steroid era.
Love 'em or
Love him
hate
or
'em,
hate him,
wishing
wishing
that
that
you
you
could
could
completely
completely
ignore that
ignore that
chapter of the
chapter of
sports
the sports
history is
history is
ridiculous.
ridiculous.
Everyone who
Everyone
lived
who
through it
lived through
knows
it
that it
knows that it
happened
happened
and
and
knows that
knows that
baseball allowed
baseball
it to
allowed it to
happen.
happen.
Many
Many
facets of
facets
the
of the
game,
game,
they were
they were
dependent upon
dependent
the
upon the
success of
success
these
of these
long
long
bomb
bomb
home
home
runs and
runs
the
and the
hitters who
hitters who
cranked them
cranked
out
them
day
out
after
day after
day.
day.
And so they
And
turned
so
a
they turned a
blind
blind
eye.
eye.
So again,
So
in the
again, in
case
the
of the
case
halls
of the
of
halls
fame,
of
I
fame,
agree
I
with you.
agree
I
with
don't
you.
think
I
it's
don't think
about
it's about
numbers. I don't
numbers.
think
I
it's
don't think
about
it's about
stats
stats
solely.
solely.
I also
I
think it's
also think
about
it's about
place in
place in
history. I
history.
think it's
I think
about
it's about
preserving the
preserving the
history for the
history for the
future
future
fans of the
fans of the
sport who
sport who
didn't see
didn't
Doug
see Doug
play,
play,
who don't
who don't
understand how
understand how
significant that
significant that
was
was
when the
when the
Redskins
Redskins
rallied past
rallied
the
past the
Broncos and
Broncos
won that
and won
Super
that
Bowl
Super
in
Bowl
the, I
in
think
the,
it
I
was in
think
the
it was in the
80s, right?
80s, right?
80s
Yes,
or
80s
early
or early
90s,
90s,
maybe.
maybe.
yes, ma'am. I mean, yeah, it was a complete, as they say, they boat raced them. It was like what 55-10 or something like
No,
Yeah,
42 to
42 to
10.
10.
I
42 to
I
10.
remember it
remember it
vividly.
vividly.
I mean, I wasn't even as we could say it, I wasn't even a Redskins fan, but I was rooting for Doug Williams. I
Yes.
mean,
Yes.
come on, Doug, you got to do it. And matter of fact, the game started off kind of slow, like oh, this isn't looking good, and all of a sudden they just went on this massive run and just annihilated them. Like Denver, thanks for showing up, but if this is all you had to bring, you could have stayed home. That's how bad it was.
Well, I
Uh,
mean,
Well, I mean,
at the
at the
time, Doug
time, Doug
Williams
Williams
broke my
broke my
Broncos loving
Broncos loving
heart, but
heart,
now
but
I
now I
certainly
certainly
appreciate him and
appreciate
his
him and
place
his
in
place in
history, and I
history. And
think
I
it's
think it's
amazing
amazing
what he and
what
that
he and
team
that team
accomplished.
accomplished.
right, because I mean, even before he got to Washington, he pretty much put Tampa Bay Buccaneers on his back and made them somewhat relevant until they ran into, at that time, my Cowboys, which was not owned by Jerry Jones, may I say. But yeah, uh, moving forward though, if there's anybody that's listening at this and they want to break in and say they want to be, and I know you'll tell them, don't be the next Amy Lawrence, just be yourself. But let's say someone wants to follow in your path, because trust me, I don't have no journalism experience. As a matter of fact, when I started podcasting, it was plug in some earbuds and do it on the phone.
Yes.
Yes.
And at most, I was doing 15 minutes. So the fact that I'm at this point right here, I mean, it's amazing that I'm where I'm at right now. But and I always say I have the number one podcast in the state of Kansas, but it's not because of me, but it's because of great guests. You're one of the great guests. So, what would you tell someone that wants to follow in your path? Because I know you're going to tell them, don't be the next Amy Lawrence, just be yourself. So, what would you tell them?
Well, there's a few things that I like to tell people, and I have a class at Syracuse that is based on helping my students, most of whom are interested in radio or sports broadcasting in some capacity. The big thing is I tell them you have to figure out a way to stand out in what is a very crowded field. There are so many people who will do what you do and think they can do it better and would probably take less money to do it. The field is so competitive and there's so many people. The second that, well, actually, even before I walked out of my studio for the last time at the network, there were already hundreds of resumes, I'm sure, being submitted for people who would like to take the job. So the big thing I say is, how do you stand out in what is a crowded field? And ultimately, the way that you get to that point is you recognize there's only one you. And if you can create a rapport, a connection, a communication with your audience that is more personal, that is more intimate. Now, those are qualities of radio that you don't have on TV, that you don't have on visual mediums, where you where you can see what the person's doing and recognizing they're not actually talking directly to you. But in radio, there is again that theater of the mind where you can believe that you know this person if they allow you to get to know them. You can understand and believe that you know them in a way that is far more personal than what you get with a talking head on a screen for, say, 30-second clips or 90-second clips. And so radio has this unique quality to cross the miles and to be very personal, where it's host and listener. And as much as I tell people you have to learn how to talk to your audience, not at your audience. Really, it's about talking to one person. It's not about talking to hundreds of thousands. It's about talking to one. And part of that is knowing your audience, right? You can't tailor a show that will please your audience or that will keep your audience coming back if you don't know what your audience is about or who they are. So a national audience is far different than, say, your podcast. Not that digitally you can't cross the miles and people can hear it in other parts of the country and the world. But if you know your audience, let's say you're a local host on the radio in Kansas City, well, your audience is very different than the audience for After Hours. And it's not just about geography. It's also about timing. It's also about the types of sports that you talk about, the topics, and how that might rope people in. So again, knowing your audience and understanding that with radio you have the chance to make a personal connection. Once you do that, Anthony, once you make a personal connection, it doesn't matter what you talk about as much as it matters how you talk to people, as much as it matters that you continue to maintain the relationship. And this became really clear to me during the pandemic. Like many people, I'm not sure how far your podcast goes back, but like many people in the industry, I was broadcasting from home for about mid-March until early July. Oh my gosh, I begged my boss over and over again to let me go back in studio. He finally relented in early July and said, "Don't you dare tell anyone that I let you go back." So I hated working from home. But what I found out is that when there are no sports to talk about, ultimately you have to be able to still entertain your audience. And so it was personal stories about doing a show from my spare bedroom with my three pets trying to sleep while I was talking overnight. It was about one night having a power outage and there's thunder and lightning and we kept losing our connection and had to reconnect. It was about moving, because let me just tell you, moving during a pandemic when you have no help is as much fun as it sounds. It was about the same thing that a lot of people were dealing with, going to the grocery store and wearing a mask, but also about how the rest of the world was coping without sports, right? So it was still an audience that was looking for an escape and a distraction, so you could have fun with it and you could be normal and you could relate and you could identify. And 98% of what I was talking about, the rest of the American public was also dealing with. And so it was just about being real and authentic and genuine. And I never take myself too seriously. That's another point that I often make to my students. What you do is not important. It's entertaining. It can be fun. People can really enjoy it, but it is not important. It is not life or death. So don't treat yourself and your show like you're the most important thing since sliced bread. So there's a lot of different ways to approach it. But again, I think with radio, having a personal connection, finding a way to finding a way to cultivate an actual relationship with people, even though they can't see you again. It's part of the theater of the mind. But for me, that meant sharing my Grammy Helen with the audience, the national audience. So not being able to see her for almost 2 years, that's something that a lot of Americans were going through in 20 and 21. Then finally getting to see her again for the first time in 18 months, celebrating her 100th birthday, and ultimately losing her. This is what humans go through, right? Our
Right.
experience is not that different.
Uh,
Even more recently, Anthony, being on the air the night of the plane crash in DC and seeing some of the news come in that there were kids and families on that plane, that something went horribly wrong, and the Baltimore Bridge collapsed. Yet another night where I was on the air, and sports didn't seem to matter. What really mattered was what people were going through. And so whether it's a natural disaster, man-made disaster, a terror attack, whether it's us bonding over the Olympics, whether it's oh gosh, even the nation's face-off in hockey and the excitement
Right.
over that, Canada U.S. game last night, whatever it is, whether it's pets, whether it's people, whether it's family, moving, travel, these are all elements of our human experience. People can tell me to stick to sports. That's never going to happen because that's not what humans are about. We love sports, yes. And if what you want is straight 100% sports, there are 4 million podcasts that you
Yeah.
can access
Yeah.
who can give you that. My ability to tell stories and to connect with people, that's my gift. That's where I've chosen to put the foundation for my radio show. And I do give that advice to people. Again, there's always going to be someone who's better at breaking down a football play. There's always going to be someone who was actually in the arena who played against LeBron James or is LeBron James for heaven's sakes. He has his own podcast, right? There's always going to be somebody who can break the sport down on a more minute level and with more intricate detail and maybe more personal experience. But there's not going to be another Amy Lawrence, as you pointed out when you asked me this question. So it really is about finding a style, sticking to it, owning it, making sure it's authentic and genuine, because people can spot a faker, that's for sure.
Right. Right. So, well, I want to say
That was a lot. Sorry, Anthony.
no, that was timely because I'm up here soaking all this in because I'm like, I feel like she's talking to me.
Oh,
And I'm
good.
like, I can take what you're saying and I can learn from it because, like you
I
say,
hope so.
there just like there's a lot of people in radio, there's a lot of podcasts, and I'm always trying to find something different because I actually have like 2, 3 different podcast platforms. I have a Bible talk one, I have another sports one, which I say
Wow.
that's more national. This one here is more local, but I pick up national people. So it's just a matter of taking and learning and having a twist on each one of them. But what you said, not only has it probably helped someone that's going to be listening at this or that might be actually streaming it right now, but it's helping me because now I could take some of these same tools and apply it. So you've helped me in more ways than you can
Oh,
than you
I'm so
realize.
glad.
And I want to say,
Another tip, if you don't mind, really
I
quickly,
don't
I have
mind.
a
Go ahead.
blog, and I can even share it with you. I recently wrote a post titled 12 for 12, meaning 12 lessons learned in 12 years of After Hours. And some of it is about what you do on the radio. Some of it is about crafting a radio show. Other of my points are really about how you are as a human being or as a broadcaster, even away from the air, that makes you better at what you do. So I'd love to share it with you. I'm sure you can share it with your audience too, but it's a few of these points, but other ones as well that I built over the years of After Hours. 12 for 12.
Let's go for it. Number 12 or number one, wherever you're gonna start at. Which one you starting at? 1 to 12.
Well, I gave you a few of them, but
Okay.
I will start with number 10 here. There is no shortcut to experience, right? Like I can teach, I can train, I can tell you and other broadcasters how I do what I do, but the only way for you to truly find a style and unique identity is to practice. And so reps are the key. And the number of times that I tried and failed or fell short of my goals on the air, honestly, that's probably equal to the number of times I've successfully carried out a plan or implemented a new idea on a show. But along the journey, you have to be unafraid to mess up. You have to be unafraid to try and fail. And when you stumble or you make a fool of yourself, and I'll just turn that around, when I stumble or make a fool of myself, It's not the end of the world. I can learn from those mistakes and chalk it up to valuable experience and try again. So there's no shortcut to that experience.
Number 9.
Number nine.
I
I
like
like it.
All right,
All right, I'll throw
another
another
one
one
at
at
you.
you.
Social
Social
media
media
is
is
not
not
real
real
life,
life,
Anthony.
Anthony.
And I
And
know
I
we
know we
use
use
it
it
in a way to
Yes.
promote.
we use it in a way to enhance, but it needs to stay that way, right? It's at times it can feel like it is the whole world. And if you get bad publicity or negative tweets, it can feel like it's that's what everyone believes, and you're doomed to failure. But really, social media represents a very minor percentage of the listening audience. And so whatever reaction comes in, positive or negative, it's rarely an accurate gauge of the whole. And so social media, while it does have redeeming qualities like animal videos, it
It
really
I
the
really
find
lasting
myself
lasting
loving
value of
those.
clicks or likes
or
or
impact or
impact or putting a
social
social
media
media
site or
site or a personality persona on a pedestal where it doesn't belong. These are all pitfalls that actually will lead you down the wrong path.
All right. Hey, the floor is still yours. Are you
Oh
ready for the
Oh
news?
well,
well,
these
these
are
are
all
all
listed in
listed
my
in my
one of my
one of my
blog
blog
posts. So
posts,
I'll
so
share
I'll
it with
share it
you, and
with
you
you,
can
and
go
you can
find
go
it and
find
read
it
the
and read the
rest.
rest.
I will definitely do that. Uh, I know the weekend is up on us, and I know you got a ton of other things to do. So before I let you go, how can we still listen to you since you're not doing the overnights? How can we
Mhm.
still listen to you? Uh, or you can share that link as well too. But there are still some people I know that want to listen to you. I being one of them still. So
Thank
uh,
you.
Thank you.
share that with people. How can we still listen to you? Where what platform is it on?
Thank
The
you,
floor
Thank
is
you,
Anthony,
yours.
for
Anthony, for
asking. Well, at
asking.
this
Well, at this
point,
point,
I'm
I'm
working
working
on
on
different
different
opportunities moving
opportunities moving
forward.
forward.
Had a
Had
couple
a
of good
couple of good
meetings and
meetings
phone
and
calls
phone
this
calls
week,
this
which
week,
I
which I
believe will
believe
lead to
will lead
some
to
pretty
some
quick
pretty quick
part-time work.
part-time work.
So I'm
So I'm
excited about
excited
that.
about
And as
that.
soon
And
as
as
I
soon
have
as I have
those
those
platforms to
platforms to
share, I
share, I
will.
will.
But in the
But in the
meantime,
meantime,
I'm happy
I'm
to share
happy
my
to share my
blog
blog
address with
address with
you.
you.
I
I
still have the
still have the
YouTube
YouTube
channel that's
channel
up
that's up
and
and
is
is
available for
available for
people
people after
with
hours
Amy
with Amy
Lawrence. It's
Lawrence.
got
It's
some
got some
goofy stuff
goofy
in there
stuff in
too,
there too, not just interviews
or
or
segments
segments we did on the air, but actually fun videos that we did
over the
over
course
the
of our
course of our
12
12
years.
years.
And
And then
then
also
also
on
on
Twix,
Twix,
as I call it,
at
at
ALAW
ALAW
Radio, and
Radio,
I'll
and I'll
share
share
all
all
of
of
my
my
new
new
steps,
steps,
my
my
next
next
steps there.
steps
So
there.
yeah,
So
a
yeah,
couple
a
weeks
couple weeks
away,
away, maybe from
sharing
sharing something
something specific.
specific.
But in the
But in the
meantime,
meantime, I'm pretty sure the
the podcast
podcast
is
is
still
still
available,
available,
as
as
well
well
as our
as our
YouTube
YouTube
channel. And
channel. And
I
I
would be
would be
happy to
happy
share
to
that
share
with
that
you,
with you,
those
those
new
new
appearances
appearances
or
or
new
new
opportunities
opportunities
with
with
you
you
when they
when they
are set
are
in
set
stone.
in stone.
All right. Well, look forward to seeing and hearing that, and I will definitely be going to the YouTube channel to check you out. So I want to say once again, thank you for hopping on the train. Thank you for trusting your life in my hands because I do not have no license to operate a locomotive going down the track. So I definitely want to say thank you for hopping on board, and I appreciate this, and hopefully we can do this again. All right.
Oh, that'd be
Oh, that'd be
fun,
fun,
Anthony. Thank you
Anthony.
so
Thank
much
you
for
so much for
inviting me.
inviting
And
me.
again,
And again,
congratulations on
congratulations
all
on
of your
all of your
success.
success.
Thank you once again, my great guest, Amy Lawrence. All righty. Now we are going to transition in and talk locally about high school basketball. Great guest, Amy Lawrence. I mean, yes, I miss her overnights. I miss her doing the overnight show. There will not be another Amy Lawrence. Anybody that has listened to CBS/Infinity Sports Network, you know I am telling you the truth. It doesn't get any better. So definitely, thank you once again, Amy Lawrence. Now I want to look at a couple of preview games in the area as Derby. Let's start with Derby. They will be on the road tonight. We're going to look at probably both the boys and the girls as they travel to Mays, Kansas to take on the Mays South Mavericks. And the preview pretty much is looking like this. Now, I know it's going to be a good atmosphere, but the Derby Panthers will head out to square off against the Maize South Mavericks at 7:30 p.m. on Friday. Derby knows how to get points on the board. The team has finished with 55 points or more in their past 17 games. So hopefully, Maize South likes a good challenge. Derby will head to face Maize South after giving up their first home loss of the season on Friday. Derby took a 67-63 hit to the loss column at the hands of Hutchinson. The loss put an end to the Panthers' undefeated start to the season. Of course, those of you who saw the interview I had with Coach Brett Flory, he said their goals were not just to win a midseason tournament, go undefeated, but to be playing their best basketball at the right time of the season, which is February into March. Yes, they took that loss, but I'm pretty sure they learned from it. And now, up next for them, Maize South stands between them and the rest of their season. But despite the loss, Derby had strong showings from Jackson Malvo, who went 8 for 10 en route to 23 points and 8 rebounds, and Avant Riley, who went 5 for 10 to rack up 17 points. Those 23 points gave Malvo a new career high. The team also got some help courtesy of Caden Titus, who posted 9 points and 7 boards. So that's what we have to look forward to when it comes to Derby and Maize South on the boys' side. Also, we're going to take a look at the girls' side as it was a clean sweep last Friday in Derby when Hutch came to town. So Derby is 9-1. This is the girls' side against Maize South, against Maize, and look like I'm looking at the wrong one here. Let's try this again. Well, it look like it's not giving me the information for Maize South. So know this though, it's going to be a good game. I'm just going to go straight off the cuff. I don't. Matter of fact, I probably can do it like this because I do believe I'm following Maize South. Yes, I am. And I'm not getting that preview either. And so yes, I am going to go off the cuff because this here is going to be a game of heavyweights on the girls division, ABCTL. Two of the top teams in ABCTL. Maize South girls against Derby Lady Panthers. When you talk about the Derby Panthers, you talk about it start me personally, it starts with Kayla Askew. But you also have Carly Dimmer. You also have Suana Carter. You also have Asia Fox. Those just name a few. When you talk about Maize South, you talk about Skylar Seals. You talk about Allie Singletary. Yes, that's right. They got another Singletary. And she too is a good floor general, just like her sister. When you talk about the coaching matchups, you talk about Coach Ben Hamilton with Maize South, Lady Mavericks. When you talk about coaching matchups, you talk about Coach Brian Chadwick, the Derby Lady Panthers head coach. It would definitely be a war. It would definitely be a coaching matchup. It would be like a chess match. Mind you, Derby won the first game between these two. Now, it comes down to this. Even though Derby took a loss last Friday to Hutch, they're still the top team in ABCTL. Maize South is no stranger though to knocking off top teams. All they did last year in the state basketball tournament was knock off a team that won 7 straight titles, St. Thomas Aquinas. So the question is, what did Derby learn from that loss they took last week? Does Maize South still have an answer to knock off another top team? It remains to be seen. That battle will be taking place full court on the Mavericks home court in Maize, Kansas. Game time starts at 6 o'clock. Be there. There are also some other area games of interest. I want to take a look at as Heights boys. I had the opportunity to check Heights out last Friday night. They travel tonight, I do believe, to take on the West High Pioneers. And Wichita Heights is a perfect 10-0 against West since January of 2021. And they'll have a chance to extend that dominance on Friday. Heights Falcons will square off against West Pioneers at 7 p.m. The teams are on pretty different trajectories at the moment. Heights has 6 straight wins. West has 8 straight defeats. But none of that matters once you're on the court. It was a battle of the birds when Heights duked it out with Bishop Carroll on Tuesday. Heights claimed a resounding 59-27 victory over Bishop Carroll. The Falcons have made a habit of sweeping their opponents off the court, having now won 9 games by 25 points or more this season. Chase Robinson continued his habit of posting crazy stat lines, going 9 for 13 en route to 21 points, along with 8 rebounds and 4 steals. He is also on a roll when it comes to shooting accuracy, as he's posted one of at least 54% in the last 7 games he's played. Another player making a difference was Malachi Wilkins, who went 6 for 7 on his way, 14 points, 5 boards. So that's on the boys' side. How about on the girls' side? Of course, it is still talking about what Heights did last week in disposing of Bishop Carroll. So guess what? We're going to go ahead and take a look at that as well too. So this past Tuesday night, or it might have been Monday, I'm not for sure because there were a lot of games shifted around because of the inclement weather. But it was a battle of the birds when Heights faced off against Bishop Carroll on Tuesday. Everything went Heights Falcons' way against the Bishop Carroll Golden Eagles as the Heights Falcons made off with a 68-44 win. The Falcons have made a habit of sweeping their opponents off the court, having now won 7 contests by 24 points or more this season. Kind of sounds like the boys, doesn't it? Didn't we just read something like that a while ago? Just so happened that this is the girls. So let's take a look at some of their margins of victory. And this will kind of give you a hand of what West High will be up against. On January 21 versus North, scored 85 points. On January 7th, they went up against the same high West High team, scored 74 points. Back in December, they scored 59 points against North. Actually, that was the margin of victory. Let me get this right. An 85-point margin of victory against North. 74-point margin of victory against West. 59-point margin victory against North. On January 17th against Northwest, they steamrolled them by 38. On December the 13th against South, they beat them by 35. You get the picture? Usually they just roll the balls out and just let the girls play. The victory made it 2 in a row for Heights and bumps their season record up to 12-3. Those victories came thanks in part to their offensive performance across that stretch, as they averaged 63.5 points over those games. As for Bishop Carroll, their defeat dropped their record to 12-5. Matter of fact, I believe that was a revenge game because I believe Bishop Carroll beat Heights the first time around. So the future could be bright for both Heights and Bishop Carroll. Their next opponents haven't had the best luck recently. Heights will look to extend West's 17-game losing streak when they meet on Friday. Meanwhile, Bishop Carroll will try to hand North their seventh straight loss. The two meet at 6 p.m. on Friday. So there you have some information on some games in the area. Uh, Also, I want to take a look at Cape and Mount Carmel. They're girls because I've had the opportunity, and usually on some Saturdays when time will allow, I'm usually at watching seventh graders play. Some good young and up and coming talent, and the way it's looking, this family might end up being one of the best families in basketball to come through in a long time. Uh, I'm talking about Buckner family. Some of y'all may remember Angela Buckner, and now she's getting a chance to witness uh, Zoe Buckner Franklin as she is just assaulting the city league. And I'm gonna say it like this: whatever record she got at the independent school the prior year when they won the state championship, averaging 20 points as a freshman, and now she's averaging 28 points or close to it as a sophomore at Cape and Mount Carmel. That's right, a step up in division. Matter of fact, multiple steps up. She was in 2A, now she's playing 5A, playing against 6A and 5A talent, and still dominating. And I had the chance last Saturday when I was checking out William. Had the chance to talk to Angela. Very nice young lady, very down to earth. The whole family is just good people. That's all I can say. The family is just good people. I enjoy being around them. Uh, but I said, Zoe, I've said this on, and this been reposted. I'm saying it, and this may be shared multiple times, but to me, Zoe is a generational talent. I caught notice of it last year when she was at the independent school. They won the 2A championship. She was 2A player of the year. But now seeing what she's doing, and I'm pretty sure some people say, okay, she's coming up to a higher division now. She ain't playing that 2A schedule no more. What can she do? She's dominating. And if you haven't seen her play, you need to go out and see her play. Uh, I've only got a chance to see her play once, but it was enough for me to know that that is a generational talent. Yes, I don't just use that word just to use that word. Uh, and I've seen enough basketball to know she is a generational talent. So when I say that this family may be one of the best families to come out of this town in a long time, whether it be guys or girls, you think about Antoine Carr, James Carr, Henry Carr, they all trekked along to Wichita State. You think about the Rito sisters out of Heights. Rest in peace, one of them there. That was a loss. Now you got the Buckners, and when I say them, all right, you got Zoe in a few years. Hopefully, I'm not going to tell you the conversation me and Zoe had last Saturday. That's between me and her. I'm gonna keep that hope to myself, and I'm gonna still hope that that happens. I'll put it this way: I'm gonna throw this name out. Maddie Vickery, Washburn Rural. She's already inked herself, and she's just a sophomore to Kansas State University. That's all I'm saying. Y'all do not need to know the conversation me and Zoe had. But that being said, let's take a look at Cape and Girls. Because if y'all haven't seen Zoe, get out and see her play. And the reason I say a talented family because William himself, seventh grader,
Awesome young man. I'm even say it like this: good parents. He is as good as he plays. He could have a chip on his shoulder. And y'all know how some of these alpha athletes are. They know they're good. They want you to know that they're good. But no, he is a product, I have to say it, of some good old school parenting. So I want to say, first of all, thank you to his parents because y'all are doing a magnificent job. And then to William personally, because I know you're going to watch this, I want to say, young man, stay the way you are throughout life because the way you are right now is going to open up a lot of doors that even your basketball talents won't take. Why am I saying that? Because I'm 57 years old. To this day, I still say yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. Even when he tweets out to me, I still call it Twitter. I know it's called X. I'm not being politically correct. He usually ends with "sir" after every game that we come in contact with. Thank you for coming out, sir. And don't you? And can I tell y'all something? That in itself humbles me. I cannot tell you how grateful I am for him even reaching out to me, giving me his schedule, let me know when his games are. By the way, they play at St. Francis this Saturday. And yes, there is a cost. I don't know what the cost is, but whatever the cost is, I'm going to pay it to get in and watch. But you get the gist. I talked to Angela, Zoe, William. Why am I mentioning William? And he's only a seventh grader. Because just like you're saying Zoe's name right now, y'all going to be saying his name. But not only are y'all going to be saying his name, y'all going to be talking about not just how good he is on the basketball court, but you're going to be talking about how good he is in the classroom and how respectful he is to adults. Teachers are going to love him if they're not already loving him. That's what I say. I love this family because when I'm in their presence, they treat me like I'm a friend. So I'm going to say thank you to the Buckner Franklin family. Appreciate y'all. Anyway, Cape and Mount Carmel had already won 3 in a row, a stretch where they outscored their opponents by an average of 14 points. And they went ahead and made it 4 on Tuesday. They came within 6 points of losing the streak, but they secured a 50-44 win against Bishop Carroll Golden Eagles. 50 seems to be a good number for the Crusaders as the squad scooped up a victory with the same number of points in their previous game. So that was on 2/11. That might be a little bit outdated information. I do apologize for that. Sometimes I get kind of wound up in what I was talking about, as was the case. But what I will do is I will go back and run down their schedule here. That way you'll know exactly who they're up against tonight. Tonight, they have a home game against Wichita Northwest. The remaining 2 games, Heights, that will be next week on the 25th, and a closeout away game against Wichita North. But yes, their last game was a victory against Wichita West. The game they won going away by the score of 65-14. Also, as I get ready to bring the train into the station, I want to say that uh, there are definitely some players of interest that I am watching. that I also look forward to having on my show here in the distant future. Uh, I did get confirmation. It's just a matter of setting up time. And I want to share this person with you, name wise. The name is Harper Dunn. And I did some research and I found out one, she's in the state of New Mexico, place of Corona High School. But I believe she's also a part of MOCAN, that organization. Look forward to seeing her playing summer ball. But I look forward to having her on the A Train Sports Talk podcast. Matter of fact, this weekend she's tied up. She have an FFA commitment, but she's going to check her schedule and get back with me. And I've seen an interview that she did with a good friend of mine out there in New Mexico, as he calls it, the state of entrapment. I'm talking about none other than Ed Nunez. He was like, she is multi-gifted. I mean, she's just in her sophomore year, and her career average is already 19 and a half points a game. And that's because she played, I do believe, played varsity ball as an eighth grader, averaging 15.4 points a game in her eighth grade year. In her ninth grade year, all she did was average 21 points a game, just like she's doing this year. She's just a sophomore. So, she's getting a lot of looks at Power 5 schools. Looking forward in the near future to having her on my podcast as well. Well, my time has been far spent. Hope you have enjoyed. If you're watching the video stream, I hope that you have enjoyed watching the stream. The podcast will be up shortly after I get my edits done. Look forward to hearing your feedback. By all means, please share your feedback. Tell me where you are watching from. Tell me where you are listening from. I do know for a fact that it is streaming live on YouTube right now. I got 2 YouTube channels, and I'll figure it out. I'm also streaming live on twitch.tv. Please let me know where you're watching from. And when the podcast goes up, there is a place where you can leave comments. So by all means, leave your comments. Tell me what you thought about today's show. Once again, special thanks to Amy Lawrence. Appreciate you. Really do. Appreciate you. And the fact that she took time out of her schedule because she still has a busy schedule. I really do appreciate her and all the nuggets that she's dropped. So if there's someone that's watching or listening, and you're like, well, how can I get into the business? Well, one thing you can do is do like I did when I first started. It was during COVID time. Just plug earbuds into a phone and start talking. Found articles and just start talking about articles. But by all means, take in some of the tips that she definitely laid out, because she laid out a plethora of information in such a short time. So I do say thank you once again to Amy Lawrence. But now it is time for me to bring this train into the station. Once again, the reason I do this is because of people like those of you who listen, take the time to listen, take the time to watch, whatever the case may be. Follow whatever you're doing. Share the videos. Thankful to my people at KFH Radio. I'm still employed there. We don't do that evening show, Bob and Jeff, but I'm still employed there. So I'm forever grateful to, I'm gonna go ahead and mention his name, Tony Dusing. Thank you, sir, for letting me still do what I do right here. I know this is not affiliated with the radio station, but I can't say enough. I'm proud to be affiliated with KFH and Odyssey Group. Got the best morning show. Jacob Albrecht, Tommy Castro mornings, the show runs 7 to 11. That's what I'm gonna say, 7 to 11. So tune in to them. And then there's also the national guys, good lineup, which also includes JR Sport Brief. He's next on my list. But until next time, take care of yourself and each other. I'm out. God bless. Have a nice weekend.